Hello. We are just now kind of logging on. When you try to get three people to come onto a computer all at the same time from different locations, we were just discussing lighting and it's crazy, like cloudy and stuff here, but sometimes that's better. But 4 minutes late, we're not bad. All right. Welcome, everybody. Please sound off and let me know if you are here. I've teased it a lot inside of my social media and stuff today because we're only on for 30 minutes or so to have some good conversations. And with that, I'm hoping that y'all like set your clock for it and set your alarm and you're here. All right, great. I'm seeing comments. So if you all have them, sound off as we're going through them. But we just wanted, Jen and I and Ashlee, we've been having conversations for how best to serve you. And they've been having conversations with you all, coming a little bit from we're coming from a handmade standpoint. Let's be real here. And Jen and Ashlee have done a ton of work with non-handmade sellers also. And we're a different breed who need a little challenging. Jen and I have come from a standpoint, both of kind of just making the choice to get our own kick in the pants, I guess. I don't know, just try to help you see how we got to where we are and the choices that we made to do that. But while we're kind of I'm going to let Jen speak to this here in just a second. I want you to sound off in the comments and let me know mentally where you're at. Are you someone who, sorry, my phone's going off. Are you someone who, and I'm speaking from having watched the conversations in this group and other groups, et cetera, who started your business and just became an Etsy shop? Okay. Maybe you branched out to Amazon. Maybe you've gone that route. If you've gone that route, you've probably had conversations with one of the three of us on this screen right now, because you've kind of made that jump into something different. But a lot of the people who just started and then became an Etsy shop and then maybe even grew to a six-figure Etsy shop have not been challenged to ask themselves whether or not they're a real business. So I'm gonna let Jen tell me, Ashlee, tell me, either one of you. You came from a world of dealing with clients who were not handmade. So these people came to you and they're like, let's do it. Like, these are the choices. Let's take these risks. Let's do this. Like, how are we different? And what I know how we're different. I know how I've gotten to this place, but let's chat and
okay. I want to jump in here. I love the question that you just said that was like, am I a real business? And I thought today we could share, you and I, Dana, share our stories of becoming a multi-million-dollar company. And I will tell you, I've had growth spurt sales and marketing for 10 years. And it was probably year 5 that I drove up into my, my garage. And I remember having this moment where I was like, oh my God, I have real business. It took so many years for me to realize all this pushing and all this working and all this hustling and all this content that I created for social media and all these proposals and all these clients and this team that I had grown, that all of a sudden it felt real. Yeah. And so I was thinking today that we could just do a short share of how we got here, and then you and I, and then Ashlee, if you want to help, jump in with what we've seen with clients that do make the $1 million plus mark, or even, 6-figure plus mark, how they get there. So I'll just really quick share. I recorded this podcast, 6-7 years ago, and it was called Food Stamps to Financial Freedom. And I was on food stamps. I have worked so hard to get where I'm at. And I remember times where I couldn't buy milk for my kids. That's how broke we were. And I just kept hustling, and I would get a side job and a side gig, and my business would start to make money. And I would be like, okay, great. Now I can hire my first person, and I'm going to do some, contract work, and I'm going to have somebody help me do these things so that I can keeping my full-time day job. And then I would go to the next piece, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can finally quit my side hustle. How much do I need just to feed people and keep the lights on? Okay, that's what I'm going to do. And every other dollar is going to be reinvesting and reinvesting and reinvesting. And that kind of hustle mindset, as well as constantly creating content, talking about what we're doing, showing the things that we're doing that are working, putting them out on the internet, paying to have a professional brand created, doing photo shoots, like all these little things that do cost money, but that made me look really professional on the outside. Like, oh, Jen has a retail podcast. She must know what she's doing. Not that I knew totally what I was doing, but it made me look professional.
Well, you learned a lot through that.
I learned so much, and saying yes to every opportunity that came forward that felt right in my gut, saying yes to mentors and going to an event, a big event, which is where Dana and I were at the same place. I'm going to kick it off to you, and then let's circle back around to how that changed our life.
Absolutely. So those of you who don't know my story, my quick little synopsis, that I was in the corporate world. I love it. It is April 11th. I was a CPA. I did taxes and audits, and this time of year was complete and utter hell. Like I had babies at home, and like my requirement there, even as a part-time employee, is what I was by the time I quit. Like I was required to work like 70 hours a week these weeks. So it was a lot. And in, let's see, 2019, I started, I don't even know where the mindset shift came from of going, okay, there has to be something more. There has to be something different. I had already quit my job at that point in 2019, but at some point in the journey to get from 6 figures to 7 figures, this light was lit on fire in my heart of like, okay, this is great where I've gotten, but there's more. There's more things to achieve. There's more things to learn. And with that, I started like absorbing the podcasts and listening to the audiobooks. Like I used to love reading. I went years without reading because I was just so heads down inside of figuring out what the heck it meant to run a business and all this and that. So like, yes, I got myself to a certain place, but the shift into like you're talking about branding, like my handmade business, the branding didn't come until much farther down the road than it should have. But when I started this coaching business, I invested $1,000 from the get-go of money that I didn't have in this specific business from the get-go on a branding package because I understood at that point why it was so different. But I don't even know if coaching was it. I don't know. All of it kind of just started converging. But listening to podcasts and whatever, Jen and I both actually met through having made the decision to show up for our businesses. Literally, we went out of town to a conference. Where was that? Did we go Charleston?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Charleston.
And we went to a conference for business owners, and it was hosted by Rachel Hollis, who is still very prevalent. And if you want to follow her, great. If you don't, like, I'm taking no stance on who she is, but if you want somebody to light your heart on fire, like in that moment in my life, that's what that was. Mm-hmm. And it encouraged me that every day I needed to be something different. Jen, I don't know if I've ever told you this, sitting in that conference, I was at this place. I had already quit my job. So that was 2019. I quit in 2017. I was sitting there, and she's having you picture where your life is going to be down the road and what you have to do to get there. And in the middle, like sitting in this big room, I texted one of my current employees who had shown a lot of promise, more outside of production and more of helping me. She was actually my daughter's preschool teacher who was actively teaching my daughter that day. And I texted her and I was like, quit your job and come work for me. And she was like, Dana, I can't answer you right now. That's a lot to process without you even being here. But in that moment, I saw clearly that wherever I wanted to be to get to that new number, a choice had to be made, and I made it. And that's a place that I think a lot of you all are probably not at. Or maybe you were at some point in your business and you need the motivation to get back there, or just that part of my story is very pivotal in how I kind of went from handmade business selling on Etsy and Amazon to being a legitimate business in my eyes that then shifted, and I made decisions in a different way. I made decisions with a longer outlook. I made decisions with like, hey, like I said, it wasn't like, how many of y'all have ever sat down and just like decided that you were just off the cuff going to spend $1,000 on your branding? And I'm not saying that because I was rich by any means when I made that choice. But that mindset was, hey, I'm doing this business and it's important. Like, I don't know if that kind of answered your question for my story, Jen, but like that's that mindset of needing every day to be a better human, mom, business owner, boss, all of that than I was yesterday. I don't, Jim, I'd like to hear if your answer is the same. Have you had periods in your life where it's just really difficult and you just, I had a couple years where, well, it probably wasn't a couple years, but it was a good 6 months where it's like, I'm not listening to the podcast because things aren't going my way and I'm really mad about it. And I know if I listen to the podcast, it's going to tell me I'm doing it wrong. And like, but I knew that those would be the thing to get me out of it. And I just wallowed for too long.
I think I've always welcomed new information. And I'm like, if I just learn more and have new ideas, things will change. So like Marie Forleo is another one that I love to follow.
Great. Yeah.
She's great, super inspirational. And I had the same moment that you did at that conference. So y'all, we were surrounded by 10,000 other women business owners. So everywhere we went, we could ask questions in line or sitting down, like, what's your business? What have you created? And I feel like I got so much from that conference, which she doesn't do them anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to tell you that. It was like the last big thing before COVID that we all went to. Yes. But I remember her saying things like, what is the value of your time?
Yeah.
What's the actual dollar value? Hire out your house cleaning, like all the little things, like get a nanny to help pick your kids up from school, unless that's something that's really important to you. It was important to me. So that's the thing that I show up for. Yeah. Everything else I outsource. Within your teams, like, are you doing your own social media? Are you doing your own ads? Are you doing your own, whatever, SEO? If there are little things that you can hire someone else to do. What I've learned is most important for me as a business owner is brain space. I need space to be strategic. I need space to look down at my business from the top view and go, what's broken? What's working? Who's an outstanding, worker for me that I need to promote or that I can give more work to, or who's not working?
And how do you create that space for yourself?
How?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I put it on my calendar. So I do a lot of self-care every single week. I'm laying on a massage table for 90 minutes. And it is like the one time out of the whole week that all the noise stops and I'm really present in my body. And I'm like open. I'm like, okay, what do I need to know? And sometimes it's a new business idea. Sometimes it's been $1 million new business idea. Yeah. And I get off there and I'm like, Ashlee, this is what we're going to do next. And she's like, wait, what? Okay.
She's like, I just talked to you 2 hours ago.
It's creating.
It's literally like that.
It is
just like
yes.
That.
He's like, okay, you'll tell me what to do. Okay, all right. But I do see this carry over to the brands that we've worked with, the ones that have really, really scaled. We're talking 6 figures to $1 million plus, even businesses on Amazon. And this is where I think we can pass the baton over to Ashlee. I wish you could actually see us pass. Catch it. Okay.
Your hand was going in the right direction. Yes.
Ashlee, you've worked most intimately with these brands. And what's the theme that you see that helps them be successful?
They're willing to take risk and ask a bunch of questions.
Well, I like the questions part. Tell me what you mean by that.
Yes. So if they're confused, they're asking questions. They're doing research and asking professionals for answers of that research. I still have clients that come to me and like, I went on Google and I seen somewhere that this happens. Is that a true thing? And I'm like, no, that's not a true thing. Or yes, it kind of works that way, but here's how it really works. Or like the new placement thing on shipments, where a lot of people are freaking out, like, what is this placement fee we're getting charged? Well, there's always kind of been a placement fee. It's just been hidden and you kind of had to ask for it and pay a little certain amount. Mm-hmm. So it's just being curious, asking the questions, and also looking at it from a 30,000 foot view for your entire business. When you're starting a business, it's good to go, okay, where do I want to be? And kind of, I always think of a web and like, okay, here I am. I want to go to all these places. Like if I go here, what do I need to do so I can get to this big picture that I want to be here?
Yes.
So I don't waste a bunch of money
Yes.
going all these other ways and having to redo all these things, because now I'm trying to reach that big goal that I didn't look at the whole picture and
Right.
try to view.
Right. And I like the way, like, I'm curious if people come to you, the comment you made about the curiosity. Like, I would think as a business owner, I like it when people have come to me, and rather than them saying, okay, Dana, I want to spend X amount of dollars to have an hour of your time. And they come to me and they're like, okay, teach me about Amazon. I'm like, okay, like, that's great. But the person who comes to me and is like, okay, I think I figured out this, and this is what I've done. Is this right or wrong? And I'm like, right. And they're like, okay, great. Let's go to my other question, because my curiosity got me there. I wanted to confirm it was right. So now I get to learn the next thing, rather than spending on what I thought, like, I just needed you to confirm, or like, I've done this with my friends. I'm like, or in my mastermind, like, groups with people, like, bounce it off of each other. And it's like, they're all like, yeah, you're doing it right. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I don't need to focus on that. I've got my validation. Let's go to now the next thing that I need to learn. So, like, I'm that was the generic example of teach me about Amazon versus teach me this and this and this. But, like, that curiosity changes the conversation and what they can get from someone. They choose to service out, or you choose to go to a mastermind, or you choose to do this or that and have those conversations. Like, the more work and curiosity that you put into it, the better you're going to get from a conversation with somebody like you.
Yes, absolutely. Because you've already dove into it. So if you
Yes.
come and you have a conversation, I'm like, okay, you want to learn all the things about Amazon? Here's like, a little overview of the best I can give you.
Right.
But
Right.
then you're going to have so many more questions when you jump in and get curious as to all the things I just said. And you're going to come back and be like, okay,
Yes.
so I jumped in and now I have all these additional questions. So
Yeah.
like, you wasted time when you could have done the research to kind of get yourself
Yeah.
curious. Absolutely.
So anybody who's watching, do you consider yourself a business? Like, are you still just, and there's no right or wrong answer here, but there's decisions that get made differently if you are okay just being an Etsy seller versus someone who has a clear vision of what this train that you're running, where it's going 5 years from now. Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
yes.
If you want it just to be a hobby, just to be that side thing, and you're not wanting to, I always think of Starbucks, and it's mostly because all Jen references that so much.
Yeah.
It's like the color and the branding and the Canva lunch and learn. Like, I just,
Yes.
yeah. So they notice it everywhere. Like, if your goal is to be like, I want to be like Starbucks, I want to be big, then you're going to have to play big.
Yeah.
Be big.
Right.
Yeah. And take
Yeah.
risks
Jen,
to do that.
What do you have examples of how you've played big, or how your clients have come to you? Like, that's the piece that I think, I don't know, but you all tell me if I'm off base here in the comments, but, like, I feel like that's the piece that the people who consider themselves an Etsy business, and the people, and I'm literally seeing comments here of people that I know have contracted Jen and Ashlee for even small pieces or large pieces of their business. And those people are considering it businesses because they see the value in it. This is by no means a pitch for anything. If you know someone else that can teach you these things, go do it. If you know of a conference to go do it. But sitting here and spending $5 to, I don't even know how you would spend $5 to try to learn anything, but I don't know. Give me like, Jen, speak to that. Like, in decisions maybe you've made in your own business, or like you said, dealing with, you've seen the really large clients who make the moves. We had a little ads conversation the other day, me and you, inside of voice chat. Like, maybe we go there of long-term play, and like, hey, $2 ain't gonna get you anywhere.
Oh yeah, I love that one. So that was a conversation around ACOS.
Yes.
So Ashlee had just finished up all of our client reporting for last month, and as she sends them out, I always just take a peek at everything, and she does the little overview in the email, so I don't even have to dig, which is nice. And I'm seeing, like, 25% ACOS, 23% ACOS, like 19% ACOS. And I'm like, holy crap, like these numbers are amazing. You get to this point where it's a casino effect and you just put the money in the slot machine and it spits out more money, right? Put the coin in, right? And so I was saying, like, do we talk about this enough? That, you know, we're creating these kind of numbers. And I looked at each one of the ones that we have, and they're, you know, $55,000 a month sellers on Amazon, or we've had them for 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ashlee and I were having a discussion about what does it take to reach these numbers? And she's like, time. And stop messing with the freaking listings.
Yeah.
And every time you touch the listing, it resets it. So having that long-term game in your business, it's not just ACOS, it's everything. It's, is my website professional? And one of the things that Ashlee mentioned a minute ago made me think about that. So people start their business and they're like, what are the cheapest ways that I can get a website? I'm going to use GoDaddy. GoDaddy doesn't plug into anything.
Yeah.
Don't use GoDaddy. Like, use Shopify. If you're selling a product, you have to use Shopify. It plugs into everything and everything plugs into it. So it's spending a little bit of money on the things that really, truly matter and looking professional. Sometimes we end up on calls and we end up in these Amazon listings for handmade sellers. It looks handmade. It doesn't look professional. You don't want to buy something for your mother-in-law from something that looks like they made it in their basement. Right. So it's really looking professional on the outside. And sometimes it is fake it till you make it. It's you look.
Absolutely.
You know what you're doing. And then the people will come because it feels like a safe transaction.
But I think if they were to get to that place where they could shift that mindset that they're a business, sometimes that's all it takes to then have that keen eye and look at that listing and go, okay, does this look the way that my competitor or any other business on Amazon looks? Does mine look the same or not? You know, like I'm not
exercise frequently where you stop and pitch your head up and look at the category. Ashlee and I have been on calls with a handmade seller recently who stopped looking up and all of a sudden the sales stopped. Well, it was because all these Indian sellers moved in and they were like, oh, we didn't have any clue. And it looks so beautiful. All their things look so beautiful. And you look at her listing and it's sad and homemade looking.
Yes.
So stay on it.
Stay on it. Yes. So yeah, there's some, and you people who are committed to it, they're all answering that they're businesses. I love it. I know that a lot of you all are coming from a place of the economy being weird and wonky, and you've relied a lot on what worked in the past. But I'm here, and I would assume that Jen is probably going to take the same stance, and Ashlee's going to take the same stance. That it might be time to do something different, though, if you are just at the place where everything that's been working really well just stopped working.
Absolutely.
I'm going to bet too that you, Dana, you've done that. Like, I've noticed every time things stop working or it starts to feel like things are not working, Ashlee and I pivot every single solitary time.
I kind of wish that you were talking about the web thing. I kind of like, I have this big wall in front of me behind my lights. Like, I kind of want to draw out my web from like 2013, from like 2013, because yes, I think the thing that has been game changing for me is not sitting around too long when it's time to pivot. It is, I am not happy with the status quo of my business, of any of my businesses. I run 4 brands. Like, the status quo on any of them is never good enough. What thing can I be doing different? Can I can I be studying email campaigns further and beefing them up to where maybe what worked when I set it up was okay, but let's go with this with a keen eye. What piece do I not know or not understand? I love challenging people to ask the question, like, you as a business owner or your business on its own, 5 or 10 years from now, can you picture that? And if you can picture that, you should very easily be able to work backwards into what does that business owner know that I don't know right now. That's where I start. Like, the status quo is not okay with me. So having a pulse on my business and just constantly being able to pivot because I have the ideas and I know the improvements. Like there's 0 pieces of my business right now that I'm like, okay, yeah, I have this nailed down. Like, I mean, I just freaking released an ads course last week. Like, it just goes to a checkout page. Eventually, I want this whole thing where you can actually see the pieces of it. But right now, it's done. So I know what the further improvements are and the continued pivots and stuff. So there's not a point in my business where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to spend a couple weeks just like chilling. Like, that's just not. It's not the way I approach my actual businesses.
Well, and businesses that succeed are doing it like that.
Yes.
Businesses that are not succeeding, that are still treating it in a sense as a hobby, are the ones that are still really struggling or really down at the bottom. So you really have to have that mindset of like, if you're wanting to be big, you're going to have to play to be there.
Well, and speak to that, because just because you play big doesn't mean that everything's going to work out. But the things that do work out, like,
push harder on. Yeah.
yeah,
And
you're
take them and
exponentially.
yes. Go ahead.
No, that's it. That just
I was like, I don't. Yeah.
what you may drop $1,000 on 7 different things, and 6 of them are not what catapults your business forward. But if one of them is what brings you an additional $100,000 because you've figured out that that's what the people want, or that's the direction your business needs to go, or I don't know, that I just made up random numbers, but you take that, and it's not that all of those pieces are going to work out. But how in the heck are you going to know what works if you just stay exactly the same as you were 3 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said they pivoted and started a whole new business.
I saw that too. Don't be afraid to take a risk, right? That's the way. Really, try a bunch of things. Slap a bunch of spaghetti on the wall. See what sticks. Whatever sticks, lean into it. Start another business.
Absolutely.
Add something new. Yeah. Change your team. I've blown my team up, and Ashlee's been here with me for 6 years, and we've blown the team up and restarted about 3 or 4 times since she's been with me.
But you've learned something each time you've done that you will never go back and do things that one way again.
No, and it's part of pivoting when you realize I'm not profitable, or my team members aren't really working very hard, or the thing that we did isn't working anymore, and I don't need this whole subgroup because we're going to just axe that out of the business. Right. But Ashlee's here, and we're going to create something new. Right. Hey, I was on the massage table.
So as we kind of wrap up, I want you to both speak to what you do. I'll say mine first, but like, what do you do to continue to grow? And like, I know that I'm having people sit here and say, well, Dana keeps saying $1,000. I don't have $1,000.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't cost anything to listen to a podcast, guys. Nothing at all. So that's one of my biggest things is, maybe if you listen to 8 Hours of Crime podcasts, maybe switch 4 of them to a business podcast or just, I don't know. That's my biggest combat that I know that people are going to say is, well, Dana, I don't have $1,000. Okay. Well, listening to people who can teach you how to get you there is one step forward, as opposed to just staying where you're at. What if you have, I love the adage that like most of my mentors don't even know that I exist because they mentor me in ways through their podcast, through their YouTubes, through whatever content it is that they're putting out there. And I listen to that one little thing that they say, and I'm like, oh, there's a pivot, there's a rabbit hole, there's a thing. Let me start researching. Let me hire this out, etc. That they don't even know that they did that for me. And they get into this because that's their passion, is maybe to not know all the people and do that. So you can do that with podcasts. If you have, if you have a book, like read the book, go to the thing, watch the YouTube video. I don't know. That's my biggest thing when I am like, I don't have a whole lot of time to do heads down listening when I'm in hardcore inside of growing this day to day. So when I do have time, like my podcasts are business minded because I know that it helps me so much. But I'm going to Mastermind next week in anticipation of the amazing conversations that are had around tables with people who are doing the same thing. You're probably somewhere in between that, and as far as listening to this and going, what do I do? So what other ideas do you all have as far as just challenging them? Like,
And they do want to know what podcasts you suggest. So maybe if you want to throw a few out.
you know what? In my Asana, I have a task right now for my podcast recommendations. It is not done yet, but I guess I can get that up today. It just may not be pretty. Again, done is better than perfect.
So my suggestion would be create the space that you need to be a business CEO. Don't be the business doer. Stop. Ashlee tells me, stop getting into people's social media accounts and posting. Like, we have a lot of social media clients. Go be the CEO. And so go be the CEO of your business and start offloading things to people, even if it's a contract worker and you give them 5 hours a week. You can't have the mental space to do the stuff that Dana and I are talking about, to go to the conference, to read the book, to even listen to the podcast. If your head is always down, you're also going to miss, where's the shopper? Are they on Etsy? Are they on Amazon?
Right.
Did they go to my website? Are they on Instagram? Are they now on TikTok and they're buying from there? I don't know.
Right.
Because you need the space. Unless this is a hobby for you and you just want to crochet stuff all day.
And that's okay. That's okay. You sit and listen to us talk, and when you're ready, we're here.
But I think the people listening want to be 6 and 7 figure sellers. And so we're talking about listening to the things, creating the space to listen and go to the things.
And just wanting to be better than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
Ashlee,
it's all going to be hard, especially, and I always feel like this soft spot in me for the people that are working the 9 to 5 and then trying to hustle this and grow it. And they're like, I'm so tired.
I did it.
If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And we would all be over here with beautiful homes and all the things and rolling in all the money.
Right.
So it's going to be hard. Don't linger on every back step that happens. Go, okay. It's not going to change it. So just take it in. Like, all right, what can I learn from this? What can I do differently? How do I need to pivot or turn to go another route? Right. Don't linger on it. Let it go, learn from it, and just move forward.
I couldn't have phrased it any better. Like, it's not meant to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. You probably didn't wake up and you're like, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur now. There's probably a piece in your bones that is like, you know what? I had somebody tell me a couple weeks ago, they're like, is it worth it? I'm like, you don't understand. Like, that question doesn't, like, this is who I am. Like, you can't take that away from me. So you're probably like resonating and shaking your head. Yes. And it's meant to be hard, because with the hard things, that's how we grow, and it's how we scale, and it's how we adapt, and it's how we pivot. So thank you all so much. We went a couple minutes over, but we started a couple minutes late, so it's all good. This is who we are inside of having these conversations with you all. What I do need from you, though, is feedback. What do you need from us? We are going to try to do some of these lives, and if the motivational thing is great inside of the group for this, great. But we have a tremendous amount of knowledge between the three of these, and the lunch and learns have gone really, really well for specific topics. And I want to know what you need from us. There is a way that you can get all of the amazing information from our brains without having to pay hundreds of dollars per hour to get it. Just tell us what topic you need, and we will create this training around it to where all of you all can see it at the same time. So we've come up with ideas, but in the end, it is your all's stance on exactly what it is that you need from us. But we are here inside this group giving you all these things. And if you need more motivation I can't promise I could give motivation every week. I'm a little busy, but I can plan on motivational things. But we have knowledge. We do want to offer additional lunch and learns if there's things that you want to learn from us. If you're like, look, we're maxed out, Dana and Jen and Ashlee, we've learned everything we need to learn from you, then our job is done. So if you're watching this on the replay, please let us know what you thought. One, about kind of if this has changed your mindset on anything, but two, give us feedback on what things you want us to teach and to advise on inside of your businesses. So with that, happy Thursday afternoon. Thank you all so much for joining us. And I will see you inside the groups and in all the places. Thanks, guys.
All right.